Hello everyone and welcome back to another painting tutorial. My name is Hunter Fleury. I'm going to be continuing to work on my large abstract piece that you see here behind me using acrylic paint. And I'd like to thank the Baker Hunt Art and Cultural Center along with the Charles H. Dater Foundation for making these videos possible. So let's jump on in. In the last video tutorial, I was talking about the movement of the brush strokes, and I was using this 2-inch diameter brush in order to accomplish all these strokes. In this video, I'm going to be paring down to a smaller size brush. You can see here it's probably 3/4 of an inch or so wide, and it's going to be adding more detail. So the reason being, these large strokes will happen these bigger brush, and then you can see these smaller strokes will start to tighten up the piece. Some of my goals in today's tutorial video will be to pare down some of these strokes, make them blend a little bit nicer. I also hope to tone down some of the very bright colors and some of the very bold moments that you can see like this. Sorry about that. I had to adjust the camera there for a minute. The sun was coming in and making a reflection on one of the sides of the camera. So I'm going to try to watch that, make sure that doesn't happen. I'm going to talk for a little bit as I'm painting now, just about my process, and then I'll close out with a time lapse. So what I'm going to do now, I've got one good coat over the whole painting. I've got a lot of areas of color, which are very wet on the canvas. So I'm going to go ahead and spray it now, so I get a nice drip going and allow for that acrylic to move across the canvas just that much easier. And you saw in the last video, and I can see through right now, some of the drips that are going to be staying even after this process. So the canvas this size, it's really nice to be able to work over something this smoothly with acrylic. And the smaller brush now is allowing me to get a lot tighter. So I'm smoothing out a lot of the areas. I'm trying to blend using some whites to cool down some of the colors. Thinking about how the colors are laying over top of each other. I said this in my last video, but every moment on your canvas really should be its own painting. It influences everywhere else on your visual journey through the canvas. So how does the eye travel with these colors? What kind of movement or gestures are you making? How will they show up? I'm really enjoying how the paint is getting absorbed into this canvas. I didn't prime it with all that much gesso, so I'm really getting to see how this saturation of the canvas with the colors comes together. Part of my process is after I complete the painting aspect is sealing this. So I'm just thinking about how that seal is going to go over top of this. In the past, I've used very reflective types of finishes, but I think for this one I'm going to use some more satin, which is going to be kind of an in-between. You can really see there as I'm putting this white paint over top, it's kind of activating those colors below, and they're kind of speaking to each other. So these yellows and purples coming along very nicely. I think it really brightens up that top of the canvas here. I'm using big strokes, and eventually I'm going to start using smaller brushes even than this. And I'm just going to keep layering until I find a lot of really happy moments all the way throughout, and really accomplish the painting I set out to make. You kind of got to know when it's done. You can overwork pieces, underwork them. Just takes practice and wanting to get to that final step. A lot of the times I find that it's really difficult to see the final piece, especially at a moment like this. Maybe a little different because it's an abstract. But I find a lot of the time people get really discouraged at that midpoint in your painting process. You just can't see the painting through itself. And it just takes that want to keep improving your abilities, even if you got to push through that failure or that image that you overworked. I'm going to turn it back now to the time lapse, and you guys can continue to watch me finish this work. So I'm just getting ready to wrap up for this evening. I sprayed the canvas one last time, and I just wanted to show you one finishing thing I do. So the drips are really nice, but sometimes they're not as controlled as you'd like. So in this process, I can blend very nicely. So you can see how that takes place, and I'm gonna do a controlled drip through a lot of the different parts of the canvas. With this 2-inch brush. I was using that 1 inch earlier, but this is just going to allow me to blend all that much nicer with this wetter canvas. So I'm going to keep some moments that I like. I especially like how this started dripping, and I think it's going to look nice as an undercoat for my next layer. So you can see throughout, I'm just going to kind of touch up the rest of the painting anywhere that I think maybe it dripped a little bit too much. Sometimes moments like this need just a little bit of a cleanup, but they're still going to influence whatever was happening underneath. So now I got some blue drips there that are going to end, but it's going to tie a lot of those pieces together, and maybe it makes more of a disconnect between this horizon line and what's happening behind it. So just some helpful advice. I look forward to the next video. We should be getting closer to the tightening up phase using even smaller brushes, and we'll go from there. Thanks, guys.